Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. This is the Police Station Building Committee meeting of May 12th. Getting right into the agenda. Could I have a motion or a comment on the minutes of the April 11th meeting?
Move we approve.
Second.
Okay, any comments? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So voted. Item 3 is to review and act on the following bill schedule and warrants. Neil, you want to take us through those, or?
Sure. Fontaine Brothers, application number 12, in the amount of $1,676,800. Allied Testing Services for 2 invoices, one for $1,860, one for $2,621.24. Construction Monitoring Services for construction oversight, monthly charge $60,000. CMS in a reimbursable invoice that was for the services associated with, I'm drawing a blank. What's the name of the photo company?
Multi-Vista.
Multivista, thank
Multivista,
you,
yeah.
sorry about that.
Yep.
Tecton Architects invoice in the amount of $36,085. And then Hunt Photo and Video, 2 invoices, $10,200, $1,290.11. Those were for the mugshot camera system.
What's the total amount? Yeah. What are these all total up to?
That I don't have, hold on one second,
Okay.
I had it.
get it in a minute.
Thought I had it. Nope, I don't have it.
I have it.
Hold on,
$1,791,880.67.
Okay.
Say that again.
$1,791,880.67.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this?
Make a motion that we approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Okay, next up, owner's project manager report.
good afternoon, everyone. Should have been available to you by Google Drive was the updated project budget, which included the invoices we just read into the record. Total project expenditures to date for the police station is $13,437,288, or roughly 36% of the overall project budget. We also provided an update on the communications budget, which is $2,471,713, or roughly 49% of that project's budget. Any questions?
No, anybody have any questions? Donna?
I do. Is there any way you could translate to us what is in that communications budget specifically?
Yeah, so there is, the communications package, as I recall, was made up of radio towers, receivers, and sending units across the town, as well as new head-end equipment that is within the station, as well as new radio equipment that's in each of the cruisers and whatnot that's outside of the station.
Now, what was it that was being held? Wasn't there something being held, not put in until a later time?
The tower.
Or am I mixing up?
I'm not,
The tower's not up over it.
the tower is not up yet. No, we have a small tower right outside of the police station. That's not up yet. It
Okay.
hasn't been installed. It's actually here.
And that's the
It's laying on pallets outside of our.
But that's the
trailer.
only one?
I believe so. I think the other ones are already done.
Okay.
And there's other equipment going in the fire station too, right, for backup?
Yes.
That's already in too, isn't it? Or is it?
I'm not sure if that's in.
That I
It
don't
also
know.
includes all radios for DPW, and all of
That's
their
what I was thinking.
DPW public buildings, all of their vehicles, other town, Selco. I think Selco's part of it too. Their radios.
That's what I was thinking of. Thank you.
And those are going in now as we
Oh, they are?
speak, like they have started already, yep.
Good.
Okay, any other questions? Any issues that, not invoice issues, or we have availability issues of any materials or anything yet?
No, I'll speak a little bit about the procurement efforts. We did get 2 furniture bids in this week, which was a great start, anyway, to the larger procurement efforts. I think the total of those was just over $600,000, $607,000 from memory. And that was there were 2 separate packages, but together they're one comprehensive package for all of the furniture inside of the station. We're also looking at finalizing the purchase order for the appliances, the dispatch furniture, the monitors, the exercise equipment, among other things. So those procurement efforts are rolling right along, and we're anticipating materials being available in the fall as we need them, as the station becomes available.
Don?
Is it possible for us to see what's actually in the bid packages?
For,
Furniture?
Furniture, appliances, exercise equipment?
sure,
Because we don't see that, but yet we approve the bottom line.
Sure. Yeah,
I'd be
we'll-
interested in seeing it.
happily share it with you.
Thank you.
Are the appliances, like in the break room or whatever, the bigger appliances, are those all gonna be commercial grade, or? they-
The stove is a commercial grade stove. It's a 6-burner dual fuel, so it's gas cooktop and electric oven.
Yep.
And that is a commercial unit, and I believe the rest of it is all residential, for the most part.
Really? In the refrigerator?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, is that it now?
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, your turn.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. So I'm gonna just roll through some images of the progress. These were from Thursday. Quite a bit has happened over the past month. A little bit outside the building and quite a bit inside as well. So we'll just, this is the front entrance. Sort of a lot of patching and prep work. This being sort of the last piece that they're gonna clad. So this one hasn't changed too much since the last update. Next slide. But this has, which is the north side of the Sallyport. We're giving the frogs the good view first before we roll it around the Maple Ave. But as you can see, the brick is going up, as well as the precast, which is just at the bottom of the view. It's covered up by some plastic just to protect it while the masons have been putting the brick up. But they're sort of working their way around towards the police parking, and then they'll come around Maple Ave and back to the front. But things have been going pretty good. The masons' quality of work has been exceptional, so we're very happy with the product that we've been seeing on site here. And then as we're moving around, this is fitness, so you can see all the staging that's been going in. There's a lot of, for the mason, a lot of prep work and flashings and clip angles and things like that for the precast and brick. So that's what was going on here. And I didn't get it into the presentation in time, but they actually just completed the precast surround around that big opening, that big window at Fitness. So it's nice to see that going in. It looks great. The carport, the structure has been completed. So this is the first view, sort of looking from the garages out towards the carport. If you go to the next slide, we'll zoom in a little bit more, and you can see the rebar that's going around the piers. So we do a concrete encasement around the bottom part of the steel, so that way the cruisers, when they're opening the doors, aren't going to whack the steel, and just helps protect the structure. But that's basically once they form up those piers, get the concrete in and cured, then they can start putting the roof on, and that thing will pretty much be ready to go. So it's good to see that it went up nice and fast. Onto the interior. So this is some of the support spaces in the garage. This is the main electric room. Just getting really into the rough-in stage of the project. You can see that all the block work has had the block filler applied to it. So they're getting those finishes on so they can start putting the panel boards and start pulling cable to them. And then on the interior, last month when we were here, we had just got the slabs poured, and now almost all of the light gauge metal framing for the ground floor is complete, except for around the training room where they had a couple of pieces that they just had to finish. So most of the metal framing is in. This allows a lot of the more detailed roughing to happen, and then once that's complete, they can start sheet rocking down here. So that was from the officer's entrance looking down towards the main entry, and then this is sort of the patrol area, so this is where all the sergeants' workstations would be. And again, just all that roughing work is continuing on and getting ready for drywall. This is the ground floor male locker rooms, so a lot of the plumbing work has been roughed in. The masons are building up the block partitions around. This is sort of separating the locker area from the bathroom and shower area. So they're just extending the block up along the plumbing there. Next one. This is the fitness room. So we're sort of looking from we're backed up against the garage, looking out over fitness. Not too much has changed here. They're just getting ready for that interior window to go up. These are the cells. So this is the handicap and female cells themselves. So that's where the actual sliding cell doors are going to be going underneath that beam that gets infilled with blocks. So it's continuous. But last time we had met, they were just getting ready to put that piece of steel in, and then they've since put the steel in and have installed the masonry over that. And if you go to the next slide, that's the male cell block. Same thing there. So just getting ready for those cell doors to go in, and then you can see some masonry ties off onto the right of the image. There's some additional smaller block partitions that are on the right side of the screen that sort of frames in lockers for detainees' personal belongings. And then up onto the second, I'm sorry, we're still on the ground floor.
Can I just ask a question on the cell, right there? It's probably just my not seeing it right. How wide is that hallway?
I believe it's like 5'4", 6 feet, something like that. It's
much bigger than it.
yeah, it's much wider than it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still cozy, but yeah, there's more than adequate room in there once it all goes in. This is the training room, so you can see the stepped seating areas. So we're sort of looking from the presentation wall, looking up with the framed out areas for the glass exterior curtain wall on the left, and then on the right side there'll be a wall where that column is coming down, and that'll sort of frame out the extent of the training room. On the second floor, so you can see they're starting to do all the sound attenuating insulation over the ceiling plane. So this is sort of looking from the detective's room out towards the detective's conference room on the right, and then on the left would be where the break area is for the building. So the thermal envelope is all outside of the building and outside of the structure, but we're also adding a little additional acoustic insulation at the ceiling plane, just to create a cap to all the spaces so that there's a lot more acoustic privacy office to office. So once that insulation's up, then they'll start drywalling that, and then bringing the partitions up to the underside of that.
Well, most of that was up Friday when I was there, the drywall,
Yeah,
of what was done right there.
yeah. So they're moving quick. This was taken Thursday midday. So, and then this is looking the other way, which is was at this time yet to be insulated. Since the last time we had met, not too much has changed from this view, other than a bunch of more MEP roughing was ongoing, and that is sort of where we are.
Any questions? Donna?
When could we do a walkthrough?
Whenever you.
We were talking
guys
in
are-
July, right, once the
Yeah,
wall
so
goes up?
by July, we should have drywall on the walls, so that will really
That's fine.
best define the space.
That's
So
fine.
I think that would make a lot of sense, and we'll have both stairs up at that time. We have the one stair, so that way you can kind of get flow of the building, public versus private access, so. but any day we can make work. Steve gives a great tour, so.
It's just so much progress, and it looks like the Taj Mahal when we go by, so I can't wait to see it with the stonework on it.
You know, some people are complaining about us spending a lot of money on the police station, don't need to hear about the Taj Mahal.
I don't care, I'm proud of it, I think it's great.
I don't think I think it looks great too, but, before last Friday, the last time I went, to take pictures was, I think the last Friday in April. Pretty sure it was. And the difference in just those couple of weeks inside was incredible. It's like when you build a house and all the framing's open, and you look at it and you go, wow, this is really big. Now you start seeing the rooms. It starts closing in again, because the space is all getting defined. But you can really see it coming together, and they got a lot of work done. And the plan feels like it flows. Everything makes sense the way it's laid out, from what I could see, so, I'm really impressed. The amount of work they got done in 2 weeks was incredible, and I can imagine what it's gonna be like when you start getting the other trades in, when they're done with the steel studs downstairs.
Perception's everything. The canopy, I thought it was going to be more that way, and it's more central. And so, just, how we looked at it on the plans and how we see it, to me, it's two different things. It looks good, but it's that's why I think walking through puts more into perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the buildings, when you build a new building, it kind of grows and shrinks at different phases of the project. Sometimes you look at it and you're like, wow, this was too big, and then you go there 3 weeks later and you're like, oh, it's too small. It doesn't quite get the Goldilocks effect until it's got the furniture in and ready to occupy. So it'll go through a few more phases of that. It'll get big again once the drywall goes up and you see things. You're not looking through framing and other spaces and things like that. And then as the finishes go on, it sort of shrinks back down a little bit, and yeah.
And the dispatch area, it looks like we gave it plenty of room, which really, it needs it. So they could be spread out, that they're kind of cozy in the other area.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's a little deceiving when you look at it at this stage too, because what you're seeing is a few extra spaces that are
Right.
sort of part of that. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's coming really good.
Well, question, I know it's early on, the effervescence that's on the brick, at some point that building will be cleaned, and because I know the
Yes.
building was put up, the cold weather, effervescence is a natural phenomenon of brick going up and blocking, so.
Yeah, and some of the.
Perception, going back to what they, perception, people looking at it, say, gosh, it doesn't look like it's finished, but in construction, at some point, you're gonna do a complete building wash, and the brick will be red and not all white.
You mean we're not gonna have a lime green building?
No, you can,
Yeah, and the thing is, as well as some of the areas with efflorescence also has hat channel and drywall going on it, so that block won't be exposed in the finished product too. But there's a mason who's been working on just doing infills around beam pockets in different areas, and also cleaning the brick ahead of the painter to make sure that it's a proper finish before paint goes on the wall. So that's definitely something we're keeping in mind.
How many masons do you have working?
I believe there's currently 7 or 8. So I'd like to be closer to 15 masons, and 20 to 25 would be where I'd be happy total, with between masons and laborers. But they've over these first couple of elevations, they're learning the details and the different reveals and the parapet at the top. So now that there's a group of masons that know generally the majority of the details on the building, we actually have a meeting to add review schedule and manpower and everything with the mason to make sure that they're going to hit their dates with that. So that's all part of what we're working on. But there's 4 to 5 interior. Now that's pretty substantially complete, with exception to the locker rooms, which should be finished here shortly. And then it's all just the detail, small brick closures, those small light walls in the cell area. But Yeah, the masons, they have had very good quality throughout this project, so we hope that remains.
Roof shingling soon?
Should I
They
just,
start.
do you want me just to jump to item C?
Oh,
And I'll give an
sorry.
update,
Yeah, all right.
just so we don't have to go too
All right.
many points.
Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Anything
good.
else?
They all
right.
kind of blend together.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
fine, yeah.
Matt, do you have anything else?
No?
No.
That's all I got.
All right. So,
So we
rush hour.
had a productive second half of April and into May. Luckily, the weather's been on our side. As everyone noticed in the photos, the brick is starting at the Sallyport area and working counterclockwise around the building. So by early June, I expect the mason to be around the front of the building and seeing the brick going that way. What you're seeing as you're driving by on Maple Ave over the past couple days is our spray foaming subcontractor has been coming around that corner of the building, doing the spray foam insulation on the exterior walls, which is our thermal insulation in the brick cavity. Although it looks like there hasn't been a lot of progress to get to that point, there has been a lot with brick ties, flashings, base precast details. So a lot of work is going on ahead of the fact of the masons getting to the walls and setting the brick on the wall. I'd expect by the end of June that we're pretty substantially complete with our spray foamer and my mason's coming around finishing the last of his elevations. The EPDM flat roof areas are substantially complete. There's a couple small tie-ins that need to be completed. The shingle roofing, we needed some drip edge and fascia metal that needed some field measurements before it could be released. It's due on site any day, and at that point they'll start the shingle roof. There's no concerns with any water penetration at this point, as the sloped roof areas have 2 layers of water protection, being a base AVB, and then there's an ice and water shield on top of the 8 inches of insulation above that. So the second floor is very watertight. As you've been driving by, you've also seen temporary plastic windows go up around the windows on the building. That is to allow our electrician to start pulling MC cable on the inside of the building. It's part of the electrical code that you can't have water infiltrating the building and be pulling wire. So that's a coordination effort on our side and something that we're doing to make sure we keep the schedule with the roughing going on the inside while the exterior envelope is being finished. The other one point to mention on the exterior envelope is that we will have a tractor trailer being delivered to site at some point this week. I don't have the exact date, with all of the exterior metal windows, which is going to end up right behind the canopy. And as the mason works their way around the building, the window subcontractor will be on site to set the windows, to install the windows, and then all the big curtain wall openings, like Matt had mentioned, the fitness room precast is going around, then the big openings along the front. All the stock material is at Kaploff Glass's shop, and they're fabricating those pieces. So as soon as those larger openings are ready to be installed, that material will be brought out to site and those frames will be installed. So those are two. Once you get the building enclosed, it's getting in condition, so we have half of that there. Going to the inside, as Matt showed in his photos, the ground floor interior framing is progressing pretty well, and the MEPs are working with my framer to make sure that they have all their penetrations through the walls going. We'll have the rest of the MEP rough in the field in the middle of the room. All the duct and pipe is ongoing, and as mentioned, my electrician is starting all of their rough-in walls. They have all their boxes, layout for boxes set, and they'll be piping all that and working through all that. The second floor framing, as Matt noted, the insulation and drywall is ongoing. They started shooting track to the bottom, to the floor and to the bottom of deck, or I guess bottom of ceiling today. And they'll have stud framing going on up there tomorrow, and ongoing throughout. So I'd expect by the 1st of June that will be completely framed out, and MEPs will be working up there simultaneously to working on the ground floor. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Did you say last week that the HVAC units are coming?
Yes, that was one thing today. All of the rooftop units were set on the roof, which is a good thing to have all of that on site. There's just a due diligence on Fontaine's
They
end.
came today?
Yep, they're all sitting on the roof today, so those are all set, and they'll start attaching all the duct to them. They'll start wiring controls and power, so those are a good thing to have sooner rather than later. And just in a big picture, looking down the road, we're working with all of our finish subcontractors, the mill worker, painter, specialties, anything along those lines to coordinate any blocking that has to go in the walls before we can put drywall on, field measuring openings for millwork, all of those finishes. So we've gotten all the material ordered. It's a lot of stock material. Orders are on hold pending field measurement, so everything's trending in the right direction.
Anybody have any questions? Good. No, Donna?
It's exciting.
What about any site work?
So right now, the site work's on hold, waiting for the exterior envelope to progress further. I believe next Monday is when we have the sewer connection tie-in scheduled. And once there's some welding to be completed on the canopy, once that welding is completed, those closure pours, the concrete encasement will be completed. And then Amarillo will come back and start working all the shallow conduits around the site for your light pole paces, your access for the fence, for the automatic gates, any other power requirements they need to get underground. So I'd like to think by the end of June, early July, we'll be putting the parking lots into binder, and then we'll be going that way. It's kind of a moving target as we progress on the exterior envelope, so.
Good. Getting there. No problems, doesn't sound like there's any problems getting materials when we expect them?
No, there's no major problems. We've been able to work through it with our subcontractors to find solutions, and we have contingency plans for any possible issues that could arise. So at this point, there's no showstoppers.
Started this project at the right time, didn't, I mean, I know Steve would have liked to see it start a few months earlier, actually in the ground, but
Yeah, it's,
the way the economy turned out, we were ahead of the curve on material deliveries.
the curve's constantly moving on.
Well,
the-
yeah,
and,
but
you know,
you anticipated a lot of stuff early on, and it seems like gave it extra lead time to make sure we had the stuff in when we needed it.
yeah, and I mean, that's part of, what Fontaine tries to do is
I
see.
agree that you've done remarkably well with that, because there are other projects that are not having similar experience, so I don't know exactly what you are doing, but very happy to hear that.
Yeah, we try to do that across all projects. I mean, for our,
Excuse me, maybe they could order the baby formula for everybody.
This all.
yeah. You'd have to talk to the Fontaines about that venture.
How are we doing with the big electrical switches? I know now they're like 2 years out.
That's
Not
one of
us,
the
but-
that's one of the things that we're tracking closely to make sure that'll work with our schedule. That's one that we've had a lot of conversations internally with Fontaine, with the electrical subcontractor, to make sure we have those on time. So if there was one thing that you could ask me that stresses me out, is the switches, but there's a level of comfort in contingency plans that we've set in place with Griffin to make sure that we can keep progress moving forward on site.
No. Good. Anything else, gentlemen?
That's it for right now.
Anybody else have any questions on this section? Okay, next is to review and act on the change order number 3. Who's going to take us through this?
I'll walk you through it. We circulated a memo that sort of briefly described each of the items that were included in the change order. I'll just go over them for the record. PCO 5R was the sewer pipe abatement and the addition of flow fill in the amount of $21,017. There was a credit, fire protection, water main was owned both under the site scope and under the sprinkler scope. So we negotiated a credit with the sprinkler contractor for $26,950 for that work. Detention frame installations, this was a sequence and scope item early on in the project. We could not get the detention door frames in a time frame that would support the mason's work. So we had to, we expedited the mason's work and had them move ahead, and then we had to drop back and install the frames in the interior masonry walls after the fact. So that was an additional $5,375 in labor. We added a roof divider parapet wall between the garage and the main lower roof. That was to account for variations in the roof slope up above. So that little wall was $5,002. There was a credit for toilet accessories, which allowed the owner to procure the toilet accessories directly through their suppliers. That credit was $4,544. Was an added CMU sill at the curtain wall in the training room, $2,231. Moving to page 2, we added a handhold between town hall and the police department for pulling of communication wires between the two buildings. It was $1,921. There was some requests to add exit signs in the locker rooms for $3,396. I believe we talked about PCO 36 with you previously. There was a change there wasn't a change. There was an addition of an exterior finish so that the non-bullet resistant glass and the bullet resistant glass would have a more uniform appearance from the outside of the building. That added $4,699 in cost. We added an additional data drop at the front lobby for the desk window. That's just an additional data line to support a microphone system and the communication between the glass. That's $607. There was we're calling a scope assignment for the exterior louvers on the building. That was I'll call it a scope gap. It wasn't owned by the HVAC contractor, and when we did all the buyouts, or when Fontaine did all the buyouts, it wasn't assigned to anybody. So this was an item that was it fell through the cracks, but it was caught now. The scope was assigned to the HVAC contractor and resulted in an increase in his contract value to $4,385. And then lastly, the installation of the detention doors. This was assigning the scope similarly for the installation of detention doors in drywall petitions to the drywall contractor at a cost of $12,621. So the total of all of the above read PCOs is $29,760, and those are all funded from within the the construction manager's contingency or scope hold line items. So there's no change in the GMP to any of the above items that we just read through. In addition to that, we have the second part of the general neuter bathroom revisions, which was an amount of $90,474, and that was provided through a number of subcontractors. They are enumerated. The direct cost of all that work was $85,312, and it affected multiple trades, as you can expect, across from drywall to plumbing to HVAC to electric, ceramic, resilient painting, resinous flooring. I think it touched just about every internal finish that we have in the building. That change in total was $90,474 and would be funded through the owner's contingency in the project. Are there any questions?
Donna?
Stupid question. Locker room exit signs.
Yes.
Is that something that isn't automatically put in?
So, well, I just say,
Don't all jump in at once.
Yeah, it was, so there was a couple of exit signs that were missing from the electrical plan, that were required because they were needed as part of the path of egress. So there was a couple of signs that were omitted from the initial.
So
bid
they should,
documents.
not a criticism, but they should have been in, they just were
Yep.
oversight?
Yep.
And what kind of toilets do you buy and what kind of faucets do you buy? What brand?
I don't know.
Are they standard, like, do you buy the same ones for police stations everywhere? Or
For,
public buildings? Or-
it depends on which toilets you're talking about. For regular bathrooms or for the, you're talking about for the
Get
gender
different ones in
neutral?
different places?
The cells.
The cells have a
Oh,
very
no.
specific, yeah.
No, I meant normal toilets.
It's not the same one at every project, but they're very similar.
So is it a brand that we know, or is it a specialty brand for public buildings?
Yeah, it's
Probably
Kohler. Kohler's ringing a bell on
Yeah, I
this
think
project.
they submitted on Kohler, if that, if my memory serves me correctly, but it could depend on the fixture type. I think there's like at least 3 or 4 different fixture, toilet fixtures, and same with like your faucets, there's probably 5 or 6 different faucets.
Really?
But they're all standard names, you'd recognize them.
Well, I was just curious if
Yeah.
you had to get certain brands for public buildings, or you do like everybody does in their house.
Yeah, I mean, the designs, you're not gonna walk into a public bathroom and say, that would look perfect in my kitchen, but
No, no.
it's the same
But it's the same
manufacturers.
company
Yeah.
with the same reputation, so in other words, you didn't go to, I don't know, some no-name brand and put those in, you put in a,
No, yeah,
that's what I meant.
No.
I should have been more clear with what I was asking. You'll get Donna speak by the end of this, don't worry.
Can I ask a question about the detention door frames?
Yep.
Does 24R relate to 42?
no. So 24R is hollow metal frames, so those are just frames like the specifically, like the major point where you would see them was like the back, the partition wall between the back rooms in the garage and the main garage area. So that's a structural wall, and we had to start that CMU in early November of last year, and just based on how the GMP and the buyout worked for the doors frame and hardware package, we weren't able to get those frames on site before the CMU had to start to keep structural steel moving. So it was, through careful consideration, it was the path of least resistance to not hold up CMU walls, which would hold up structural steel for a couple door
So-
frames.
In the detention area again, is 42.
So the detention area is specifically the frames for the cells, the 11 cell and 2 holding frame, or the 9 cells and 2 holding frames. So that was a mistake on my part when I bought the detention equipment scope out and the drywall scope out. I thought that the drywaller had those frames included within their scope as well as all the hollow metal frames, and I was mistakenly wrong by that. So at the time I realized the mistake I had made, I asked if we could use the buyout savings from the detention equipment buyout
Yep.
to fund the installation of that, because the drywaller omitted that from their scope.
So, in the cells is drywall?
No, Neil misspoke on that. They're placed in CMU walls underneath the lintels that we'd see.
So is the drywall contractor still doing the install?
No, after review and discussion
Okay.
with both the drywaller and the detention equipment, I decided that it would be best to assign that to the detention equipment provider and installer. So,
Yeah, I was just kind of surprised we're gonna have drywall in the detention area.
yeah, Neil just misspoke on that one, but.
Yeah, that's okay. Still no big, these are all hiccups, so it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, and as I mentioned with 42, that $12,000, I believe we had $15,000 in buyout savings from KN&E for the detention equipment scope. So that's a mistake on my part.
Okay. Good. Talkative. Keith? Okay. If there's nothing else on that, the next order of business is to review and
Do we have
discuss.
to do anything, the act on this? Do we have to approve any of this?
Oh, yeah,
I
okay,
was gonna say, I think there's a vote.
right. Okay, does anybody have any questions on that change order?
No.
Then could I have a motion?
Move we approve the change order.
Second?
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Now we can turn the page. Okay, so the next item is to review and discuss the town hall feasibility study process. We're not gonna get into the nitty-gritty of it tonight, but essentially, we understand it, we're not going back to the plans, the schematics we had 2 years ago or whatever. But yeah, pretty much 2 years ago. And we're gonna have a new set of options coming forward. And because it's been 2 years and now we've done some reconfiguration with the staff, internally, you folks are gonna work on, making sure that the needs are still the same. And then move into a schematic design phase, right? And then, I'm just trying to paraphrase what we're doing here, but, and then as you're going along, we'll get a monthly update until there's something of substance to show us. But there'll be dialogue going on, and in maybe 3 months, we'll start to be honing in on some potential configurations, right? Is that where we are?
Yep.
That's the
Is
idea.
that right?
Yeah, I think, the next course of action is that Tecton does have our programming needs and assessments. We've done some hiring, we've done some reconfiguration. They're going to assess, okay, how much total additional space does the town hall need? They will present that to this group for your knowledge and your feedback. Then they will go back after affirming that and do 3 conceptual footprints. Going up on this building is not an option at this time. We've thrown that off the table. So they would come back to you with those 3 additional footprints, and we'd provide our thoughts and feedback on that. Then they'd go back and do their conceptual schematic floor plans and elevations. 3 of those come back to this group, get our thoughts and feedback. And then finally, once that's settled, come back with the final build cost estimate for our review. And then we're focusing on getting all of this done by September to, if the town wants to move forward, a town meeting in October to allocate the funding for the project if we choose to move forward.
Thank you. Did you have?
And the
Oops, sorry, go ahead.
The inability to move up was decided by the zoning?
No, it's really so cost prohibitive to move up, and relocating people's spaces. You have to relocate everyone who's working in these locations while they're doing that. Keith knows building better than I do, but that's.
Yeah, basically from here back, would have to move for probably a period of at least a year. So that would kind of a big upset. And then the cost of actually going up
Okay.
is more money.
Thank you.
And from when this addition was done, and correct me if I'm wrong, until now, codes changed enough that even though we thought this was being built, to handle a second floor, the codes changed so much that it still put a second floor, but it's a lot more work now, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. And that was analyzed as part of the initial study.
Right. Donna?
So when you talk about 3 plans, are you talking about 3 plans to your left, my right? Are you talking to 3 plans that way? Where?
You don't know yet.
Well, they must know, they must have some idea.
No?
You don't. When you talk about those 3 plans, are you talking about that plan being able to go up?
No.
Why?
Can I just jump in there? Not that it was my decision, but Kevin and I had talked about this last week, and I asked him about the second floor, and I said, that's off the table, right? Because,
Second floor here, but if you did it next to it, why?
oh, a second floor on the addition?
On the addition, would you be thinking of it being set up to be able to go up? To have the groundwork set so that that could happen? I'm
Donna,
just trying to
that-
save us money in the future.
Looking
When I'm-
ahead, like we did, it still didn't work out.
But if the building is up.
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean like build a second
All
floor
right,
and not finish
like
it
build a
off?
cape and not do the top floor, but the cape is there ready to just do whatever. Is that a consideration?
If the programming and the site constraints and everything, when we start putting pen to paper, suggests that that's the correct solution, we won't shy away from exploring it. But I don't think that is the initial assumption of what's gonna be the most economical.
So what I'm thinking of, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but over the last 50 years of this building and how we've expanded and how we've grown, in planning whatever you're going to do, do you say, okay, this is what it is for now, but this is what you're going to need in 30, 50 years, so that we put that into the project? Or, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
So like we did with the police station and actually with the initial programming exercise for this building, looking 20, 30, 40 years down the road is sort of part of that exercise. And so our initial program has growth projections included in it, and the latest staffing projections that were given to us by the town a few weeks ago also has an update to those projections as well, so that we can realistically take our best guess at forecasting what that would be. To the other point of building, prepping for the future like they did on this, and saying that we're gonna build it and have it ready so that you can add another floor in the future, without building it, I would never recommend that.
Oh, no, I meant building it.
Yeah,
So I guess what I'm saying is,
Leave it unfinished.
if you look at the last 50 years, you know, initially it was easy to find little corners to expand. And then all of a sudden, people were on top of each other. And then with a lot of the reorganization that's happened in the last 3 or 4 years, there seems to be a lot more people. Not that there shouldn't be, there are, because it's necessary, long overdue. That's going to happen again. So I just want us to have that foresight so that even though it may be an expense today, it's wise to have that expense today, as opposed to then we're gonna figure out where on this property can we put another whole building again, you know? I just, that's why I'm thinking that way.
yep. No, I don't disagree, and we'll certainly have that as part of the consideration.
Good.
Anyone else? Just a couple of thoughts starting. Make sure we have enough storage in there, because that's the first thing, when you're gonna start cutting a budget, right? Where's it usually go? I've been through this before. You can never have enough storage. There was something else I was gonna.
I think in the.
Oh, meeting space.
Yeah, the initial
Yeah.
feasibility study calls out a lot of storage and calls out a lot of meeting space, so I think that's.
And-
Loud and
they
clear.
did a-
Regardless of what people said about, oh, we're gonna have, not here, but it just in general in the industry, technology, we're gonna save space, stuff, it doesn't work. You still need storage. And it's happened every place I work, so, I just,
I think I sat in every department, just about every department meeting that Tecton sat in for that feasibility study, and I think that's the first thing that came out of everybody's mouth, storage, and then it was meeting space. So I think it's quite a bit, at least in their 2-year-old plan.
okay, just one other thing I'm
Bathrooms.
thinking about, the vault. If we're gonna do something, if we can work it in, can we get a bigger vault so we can, that one's getting a little tight. It's more than a little tight.
That wasn't updated, so if we need to increase the size of the vault, I would recommend that we do a second vault. If you
Oh, however
if
we
you need
do
to
it.
design it as an actual 3-hour fire rated masonry
Right.
vault, I think it's more of a detailed accounting of what, because that's an expensive, very expensive storage room
Right,
to design and build.
right, but we need a place to store the records, and
Yeah. So, yeah, so if expansion or an additional vault storage space is needed.
If we do a second one, that's
We
fine.
can
I don't
talk
even
about
know if,
Yeah, we'll talk
if
about
there's
that
gonna be money in the budget, but
Yeah.
that room is just jammed.
Yeah,
And it's gonna, even if we digitize, there's still gonna be a need for that kind of space, so.
yeah, and I think the other thing that we'll certainly be considering going through this is there's communicating pathways and things like that below grade, and there's an overlap of coordination between the police station project and this one. And so us considering that impact on this process will also sort of play into our planning as well, to make sure that we're not doing something as part of their scope with the construction where we're bringing conduits over, the way the parking lots are gonna interact and things like that. So that'll certainly be a discussion.
Right. That meeting space is getting, it was tough before we took the old selectmen's room. Worse now. I know we're gonna get a couple of things over there, but those are small rooms, so. Anyways, just throw it out there now instead of after we're done. Anyways, okay. Is there any other business this evening? No? Schedule is still good for the next meetings, 13th, July 18th, August 15th? Okay. Good, you good? Okay. Then
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, you did say it. Okay, I was just gonna say, how about a motion to adjourn? Okay, motion is second. All those in favor, signify by
Aye.
saying
Aye.
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 Opposed? So voted. Thank you.
Thank you.